Howdy, folks. It's your jack of all trades, master none, papa nerd here for all your casual geek needs. We're back again today at the desk, actually. And today we're going to be discussing a little bit about how to start your Heroclix collection or how to maybe add to it in a cost efficient manner. I'm a frugal individual myself, so I'm the kind of guy who's always on the lookout for a bargain or a steal. And yeah, a lot of these hobbies that we enjoy aren't particularly cheap. HeroClix being you know among them as far as expensive hobbies go. And so yeah, no, this really is just a video to help you understand different avenues and ways that you can get into the hobby or to expand your collection without having to fully break the bank or drop hundreds or thousands of dollars on models if you don't necessarily want to. So we're just going to dive into, some options, what's available out there, and then some different resources you can tap into when it comes to, figuring out what you want to add to your collection as well as how to best do that. So, first and foremost, when it comes to any hobby like this, I always encourage people to play what's most fun to them. So, whether it's, a hobby like Warhammer, Dungeons and Dragons, Pokemon cards, or Magic the Gathering, HeroClix is no different. I always tell people play what looks fun and interesting to you. So, while there are in a lot of these games, very competitive scenes and, tournaments and things like that that you can participate in, um, I can't overemphasize enough that, while what might be, the ideal or meta figure or team for the time being, that will change over time. So I think it's just important to pick stuff and play stuff that you find fun or interesting. Now, with that being said, we do live in the real world, so there are other considerations outside of strictly playing what you might find most fun or interesting. And so one of the things that you have to take into account is where you're going to be playing at. So if you are playing, strictly at home around the dining room table with friends or family, then really sky's the limit. Feel free to do whatever you want, make up your own rules even. So there's really no restrictions there as far as something like that goes. However, for some of us, you might play in a friendly local game store where they do maybe play certain formats or game modes. And so something to keep in consideration if you're building a collection to be able to play with others in those types of situations would be what sets you're buying from and what ages those sets fall into. So the most common, probably the one that you'll run into most often, is the modern age. Modern age is usually the most recent sets within the past two some odd years, and this will rotate every year. So eventually, sets that were modern will rotate out and whatnot, and then new sets will take its place. But yeah, the modern age starts right now with Fantastic Four set and goes all the way up to the most recent set, which is X-Men X of Swords. Um, and yeah, like I said, generally speaking, a lot of tournaments and competitive events, things like that, will generally speaking use the modern format. So just something to keep in mind if you're looking to buy stuff that you can use in a little bit more structured setting. Maybe consider buying figures that are currently part of the modern format or will be part of the modern format for the next few years potentially. Beyond that is the Silver Age. Now the Silver Age covers pretty much everything since I think it's about midway through 2016. There was the Superior Foes of Spider-Man set, where they updated how the cards look with where they show the dials on the back of them. So Silver Age includes any figures or sets released after that point. The nice thing with the Silver Age is it doesn't change. It's everything after that point. So while certain sets might rotate out of the modern set, it'll still be part of that Silver Age then. And then you have the Golden Age, which pretty much is just anything and everything, all the way back to the earliest figures of 2002, all the way up to the most recent sets. So Golden Age includes everything. Trick with that though is obviously balancing has changed over time. How they price figures, things like that has changed quite a bit. So you might have some early figures, but when you compare them to their modern counterpart, they might not quite hold up still or stack up quite the same. So just something to keep in mind, a consideration to have. But if you and somebody else are playing, a bunch of Infinity Challenge figures against more Infinity Challenge figures, or whatever, then it's probably fine. It'll be a fair game either way. So yeah, when you're looking at different sets to purchase, just keep the idea of what age it falls into in mind, and whether or not that matters to you. The other thing to consider when you're getting figures is rarities and things like that, at least as far as costs are going to be associated with them. Now, generally speaking, sets will have five main rarities that you'll encounter, which are commons, uncommons, rares, super rares, and chase figures. Um, Occasionally sets do have a additional rarity called like a super chase, something to that effect. But generally speaking, that those are pretty few and far between, fairly uncommon. So you won't see those quite as often. Now, things that you will encounter most of the time when you're looking at booster packs or what people are selling, commons and uncommons are by far the most proliferous. So you're gonna see a lot of those, and generally speaking, they sell for anywhere from $1 to $2 a piece at most. Usually you can buy them in bulk for pretty cheap. Rares, which again aren't worth a whole lot, generally, again looking at maybe $1 to $2 a piece, and they're pretty easy to come by. Um, Super rares are a little bit more expensive or a little bit harder to find. Generally, a variety of your super rares are going to cost anywhere from $5 to $10, maybe upwards of 15 to 20. Occasionally, you'll encounter some that are worth just a lot more or much more valuable, and so they can be anywhere upwards of $50 to $100. Just depends, but that's usually a pretty unique situation. And then you have your chase figures, and those are usually the most expensive figures you'll find in a set. And those can be anywhere from $50 to $100 on average, and some, looking at a recent set from, Avengers, Fantastic Four, Empire. You have Ben Magneto, for example, who's selling for over $250 in some cases. So prices for these things can vary and change over time. So just something to be aware of. If you're looking at something, if it's in the modern set, there's a good chance it's probably a little bit more expensive at the time, just because people can use it in tournaments and the competitive scene. So just something to think about when you're trying to purchase some of these items. So probably the traditional way and the most common way to think about people collecting figures from a set is from buying booster packs. Now, booster pack is a box that contains 5 figures. Generally speaking, it contains 2 or 3 commons, 1 to 2 uncommons, and then a rare or a super rare figure. Or if you're lucky, it might also contain a chase figure. And yes, booster packs, for modern sets, things like that, usually go for around $15 to $17. Just depends on where you're buying it from or if you can find a deal for it. Older sets might go for a little bit cheaper, so they might go around $12 or $12 and above. Um, every once in a while, you can find stuff for even cheaper than that. And in some cases, certain sets might even retail for higher than that $17 mark, just if they happen to be really popular or not as commonly available or such anymore. Um, so there's a range of prices, but right around that $15 mark is what you're looking at for a single booster pack of 5 figures. Um, and then there's the bricks that you can buy for a set. So a brick contains 10 booster packs. Now bricks are nice if you are a fan of the set or looking to maybe try and get a good chunk of the commons or uncommons for a set. Generally, so you get 50 figures in a brick, and with that you'll get at least 7 rares, 3 super rares, and then usually a prime or a chase figure. The nice thing with the bricks is, generally speaking, you won't get any duplicate super rares. Um, and usually, the number of duplicates you're getting overall tends to just be a little bit less, it seems like, from my experience so far in the bricks that I bought. So it's a good way to get a good chunk of your commons and uncommons for a set, and then a fair number of the rares as well, too. As well, with bricks, you also get the advantage of getting a legacy card with them, which is nice. So that way, if you have some older figures that you want to bring into the modern set, then that legacy card can help you do so. Or it might be even something that you could use for trades potentially. Now, let's say for the sake of argument, there is a set that you're really a big fan of and really into and interested in. Then you can also buy what's called a case, and that's just simply 2 bricks put together in one box. So essentially, your numbers of what you get are doubled. So 14 rares, 6 super rares, and then 2 chases or prime figures. And then that way, too, you're almost guaranteed to get a full set of commons, uncommons, probably, if not close to a full set of rares, as well as a majority of the super rares of the set, and 2 legacy cards. Um, so yeah, I mean that's a great way to, if that's a set that you really like or really want to get all the figures for, that'd probably be the best way to do it. Bricks generally go for about 150-ish dollars, especially brand new. Whereas chase or cases go for around 250 to 300, just depends. So, in addition to buying boosters, bricks, cases, there's also the miniatures games or the starter sets, as I usually call them, or used to be called, um, which contains usually 10 figures. So they'll use the same sculpts from the actual set itself, but they'll use different stats or cards for them. So not like if it has a sculpt of a super rare, you're not getting that super rare, unfortunately. You just get the same sculpt as it. But some of the sculpts are really nice, so kind of a cool thing. In addition to that, you usually get maps, tokens, dice, the powers and abilities card, rule book, all that kind of stuff. So pretty much everything you need straight out the gate to get started. So again, I've said before, and I'll keep saying it, I can't recommend the miniature game starter sets enough. It really just gives you everything you need straight out the box to at least get started and get you a little bit of a beginning of a collection going. And some of those figures that you get with them aren't bad either. They can be decent team fillers and things like that. So very nice. And as well too, they also offer what are called fast forces. It's just a collection of six figures, generally around a certain theme of some sort. And yeah, same thing with the starter sets. They might use the same sculpt as some of the figures in the actual set, but they have different stats and cards. But it's a nice way to get a pre-built team really quickly, and maybe it has some figures or models that you're interested in there with it. So just another consideration. Those usually are fairly cheap. The starter sets usually run around these days are around $60 to $70. Older ones you can find for a fair bit cheaper. Um, and then the fast forces are usually about $15 to $20. Just depends on where you're getting at. Now, all these products I've just got done talking about are sealed products. So these are essentially products that are coming not necessarily guaranteed, but you know what to expect when you get them. And these are come directly from the manufacturer, Wizkids. So you may buy them through a third-party retailer or site or something like that. So maybe you buy them from your local game store, or you buy them online through a third-party service or something like that. Um, but you still know what it is exactly that you're expecting or planning on getting. But with that, you do have the increased price tag as well too. So generally, buying sealed product is not the cheapest way to go when you're trying to buy things. So now that we've gone on to looking more closely at prices of things, let's discuss ways that you can get the most out of your dollars. So as I mentioned, buying sealed product is not the most efficient use of your dollars. You don't know exactly what you're getting, so you're guaranteed like essentially like a certain distribution of things, but you don't know exactly what you're getting. So you don't know what commons, uncommons, rares, if you're going to get a chase or not, what chase you're going to get even. So when you buy a sealed product, it's a good way to get bulk things maybe, for a specific set in that fashion. But for looking for specific figures or models, it's much more inefficient. It's just going to be you're going to be spending a lot more money to get specific things that you're looking for, generally speaking. Um, and so that's where buying singles comes in. Buying singles, generally speaking, in most hobbies, whether it's collectible card games or collectible miniatures games, buying singles is usually the way to go to get the most bang for your buck, because then you are getting exactly what it is you want, and generally speaking, you're getting it for a price that would, in theory, save you money in the long run. Now, that isn't to say you couldn't get lucky, and in the case of Disney Plus, get a God Pack where you get five chases all in one, or you get that the exact figures you're looking for in a booster pack. So that does happen, and people do get lucky. But that isn't the majority of situations or cases, and so that's where buying singles comes in. Now, you do have a number of options when it comes to buying singles, and a number of places you can go to do that. So we'll go over some of your options here. Now, one thing I do want to touch on before we go any further than that, though, is being able to figure out, what is out there in the first place and where you can go to look at that kind of stuff. There's a few websites that I recommend. HC Realms, so I've got that up here right now. Shows all the various sets of Heroclix, shows you what's Silver Age, Golden Age, Modern Age, all that good stuff, and then also shows you all the different figures that are available in that set. So we're looking at Disney Plus here, so you can see some of the different figures that are available, and it shows you their stats, breakdowns, all that kind of stuff too. So it's really just a great resource for looking and seeing what's out there and then what you're potentially interested in or what you're looking for. So yeah, HC Realms here, and then there's also Clicks Nexus. Has a very similar unit database where you can go in, look at a set, and then potentially look at what figures you might want to buy or potentially be interested in. So you can click around, see what's out there, see what's available, and all that kind of stuff. And the nice thing with these too is you can do team building and things like that too. So that's a nice little feature that they have as well, where you can build a team of things that you like. But yeah, no, as far as purchasing singles goes. So yeah, for purchasing singles, you do have some different options available to you. So a few that I found that I really like, and there's a variety of them out there. So I mean, these aren't the only ones, but the ones that I found that seem probably the safest and usually have a decent stock are Cool Stuff Inc. So this is a great site. You scroll down here and that shows all the different recent sets. You can click on it. So we'll go into X-Men X of Swords here. And you can buy sealed proc from them, so you can buy the boosters or cases or what have you. But then you can also look at and buy singles as well too. So let's say, for instance, I really wanted Abigail Brand from the new X of Swords set, and so rather than having to buy a couple of bricks and hope that I get her, I can just go on here and buy her for $12.99, for example. And you can sort through different things. So, for example, with Ten of Swords here, one of the new features was the tarot cards. And so you can see here that they have some of these tarot cards for sale. And looks like across the board right now they're generally going for about $10 a pop. So if there were certain cards you're looking for your deck that you're building, you could go on here and find those cards for a relatively reasonable price. Some of them are obviously going for a bit more than that, so it seems like the more popular ones, Queen of Cups, Queen of Swords here going for $20+. Um, but yeah, and then you can also sort by different figure rarities. So you have the chases, so the most valuable or hard to get figures in the set. You can look at those, and they have some of them available. It looks like all of them, ranging anywhere from around the $50-ish mark. Late Rome is only going for 33, but Apocalypse and Merlin, for example, are going for 130. So you can see all those. And on the flip side of that, you also have Troll and Toad, who I really like as well too. Very similar setup to uh, Cool Stuff Inc. You can buy sealed proc directly from Troll and Toad, but then you can also buy singles from them as well too. And again, you can sort through, see what's available, what the average price is, and things like that. So, um, yeah, just a real convenient way to see what's out there, see what the general price or asking price is for some of these things, and being able to purchase them. Now, everything we've discussed up to this point has been through retailers of some sort or another. So whether that's Wizkids, a different site that you purchase things through, such as Cool Stuff Inc., Troll and Toad, other places where you can um, buy product, brick and mortar stores, all those kinds of places. You have reliable retailers that what you're getting, or if worst case scenario they didn't have what you were looking for, you get your money back or what have you. Um, but there is also the private market. Now the private market, generally speaking, will be cheaper, but you're not guaranteed anything either. So you're dealing with individuals, real people, and then there's always a chance that you could not get what it was exactly you're trying to purchase. I would say, generally speaking, across all the hobbies that I play and my use of the private market, which I tend to prefer and try and use most often, I've had very few instances of somebody trying to scam me, or me getting not what it is that I purchased from them. Occasionally things will come broken or not in the best condition. Maybe they won't package things as best as they could. But generally speaking, I've had mostly, I would say, 95 to 96% positive interactions with people on these private types of marketplaces, and very few issues. So I just always caution when you use them that they are private sellers, private individuals, so you're not always exactly sure what you're going to get. But one that I use for Heroclix pretty often is eBay. So there's still some protections here and still some guarantees. So with eBay, you can go on here and you can find different figures. So here's a couple of the more recent Ten of Swords figures for sale. So you've got Red Root here, who's currently almost done with his auction, going for about $5.50 right now. So a bit cheaper than maybe what we saw over here at Troll and Toad. Let's scroll down and see what Troll and Toad has Red Root going for. I think he's going for around $20-ish. Yeah, $20 here on Troll and Toad, and here on eBay $5.50. So a bit cheaper. Same thing with these rares, Iska the Unbeaten War. You can find quite a bit of stuff for a little bit, for a fair amount discounted. So just something to keep in mind when you're looking for singles. Maybe check eBay and see if there's anybody who's selling them for a little bit cheaper than what the other markets are. You might be able to find it. The other thing I want to talk about a little bit too when it comes to these private markets is lots. Lots are big collections, and that can be a great way to get into the hobby as well too. So, not only can you buy individual pieces that you're interested in, or parts of sets that you're interested in, by buying a brick or a case or something, but you can also, I mean, there's people who get in and out of the hobby all the time, and when people get out of the hobby, generally speaking, they want to get the most out of their collection or get the most money out of it. So usually they'll try and sell it for a discounted rate. And so on eBay or in some of the other private marketplaces that we're about to take a look at, you can find people selling whole collections of figures. So that might include all of their commons, uncommons, rares, as well as some more expensive pieces like their chases or super rares, limited edition figures, things like that as well too. So something to be on the lookout for if you're fairly new in the hobby or looking to really expand your collection in a big way and you're not too particular or picky about exactly what it is you're getting. A good way to get a lot of figures for relatively cheap overall. All right. And the last marketplace I want to talk about, and the one that I've used quite a bit recently, is the Facebook marketplace. So there's a whole variety of trade groups and different groups that you can use to buy, sell, trade Heroclix. As you can see, I just had a message there from somebody I was talking to about potential trade. But yeah, it's a fantastic group. The one that I use most often is Heroclix International Trading and Selling section. And this is a place where people can, again, post what figures they have that they're trying to sell. Or in this case, people trade figures as well too, which is a good way to get a hold of things that you're looking for or what you're after. So maybe you do but decide to buy a brick of something and you get some stuff that you don't really want or need, and so then you can turn around and trade it to somebody. So maybe somebody else wants the figures that you got, and in place you get some figures that you want. So trading is a great way to go about getting some of the things you want. And if you're like me, I come from a smaller community, so while there are people that play the game here, and I can trade with them, you know, our collections are limited, and so that's what these groups are nice for, is that it gives me access to a much larger community to trade with potentially. So I might have figures that I don't want, that I want to trade, and maybe nobody in my local group does. I can post them on here, and then there might be people who are interested in that figure or are willing to trade me what I'm looking for in return. So HeroClix International is one that I use a lot. The other one that I use quite a bit too is HeroClix Hub. Again, this is just one that allows you to make posts, respond to people, and be able to, again, buy, sell, trade. And that's the other thing you can do too, is you can post your own collection on here and be able to trade, stuff that you don't want to keep or you're not interested in for other things. So just a great tool in your toolbox of things that you can potentially use. All right. And then the last thing we have here is we just have WizKids' very own store up on the page here for you to take a look at. Again, just the most official place that you can potentially buy HeroClix from, but you'll obviously notice generally the highest price tag of them all as well too. So, uh, yeah, looking at a brick of X of Swords here, you're looking at $178.49. Whereas if you look back at like Cool Stuff Inc., for example, let's go here. Let's go sealed product. A brick from them is 144.49. So, um, yeah, just something to keep in mind when you're looking at buying product. If you want the most official source and the absolute safest bet, then you can obviously go with WizKids themselves. But yeah, I mean, many of these other online retailers are just as reputable, and you're guaranteed to either get what it is you pay for or get your money back. So, um, I've had very few issues or concerns when utilizing any of these online retailers as well. But they do have pre-orders on Wizkids that other sites might not have. So if you look here, you can already pre-order the Avengers Forever booster brick that they're putting out in the next couple of months. So all right, folks, well, that about wraps it up for us today. I hope that video was helpful for you and that gave you some new ideas for resources and avenues that you can utilize for figuring out how to best expand your collection. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, happy gaming.